A couple years ago, cattle were used in this meadow to graze off the Medusa head before it went to seed, allowing the native grasses to come back. The cattle were one of a couple of options to control the Medusa head, the other being fire. Now, I am not here today to talk to you about the catastrophes fires can cause, but to applaud the Forest Service for using a much safer, non-polluting method to sustaining the health of these scenic meadows. Just in the past 50 years, open grazing has become one of the most controversial topics for farmers, right up there with water use. Since the 1860s, open range grazing has gone on without a bit of a problem, but now, with modern technology, cars that can achieve 120 miles per hour, many are beginning to see it as a problem. Although there have been increased problems about the use of open range permits, claiming an increase in cause in car accidents and giardia, ranchers should be allowed to own permits because these open range cows are healthier, which results in increase in beef production, greater profits for ranchers, and by far, most importantly, healthier forests. Vigilantes began to cut fences, while other states tried to enforce fencing. The solution to this problem, which wasn't much of a solution at all, was to outlaw enclosure of public land. Eventually, population grew with the development of railroads and mining. Due to the large increase of miners and workers, beef demands shot through the roof. During this period of our Western history, livestock outnumbered people, and laws were rarely enforced. Hills and prairies are limitless. Water is vast. It was more logical for one townspeople to build a fence around a house or business than to build one around an entire rangeland. Where open range ranching still exists, the guidelines are simple. If you do not appreciate livestock on your property, build a fence. Unfortunately, many cannot look past this faulty aspect of this wonderful opportunity given to ranchers. Even if the amount of fault is quite minimal, in today's times, cows on rangeland are seen as a nuisance and danger to tourists, campers, and nature. Most commonly, livestock, specifically cattle, that spend their summers on open range lands get the most criticism when it comes to traffic and cow versus car collisions. Colleen was the first of 3 cars to hit the cow. Once she hit the cow, the butt end of the animal smashed into her passenger door and broke out her window. She recalls having the feeling of hitting a brick wall. Farmers now use reflective ear tags on their cattle, as well as heavy signage dispersed on the roads and quad trails. The signs clearly give drivers the knowledge that they are driving through open range area. Therefore, drivers now know in advance they need to watch for cattle and drive at appropriate speeds. When headlights shine on a cow's ear tags, they will reflect. This is to ensure the drivers and livestock safety. Many do not realize the precautions like this that have recently taken place. One of the newest criticisms that open range ranchers have been getting is the accusation that cattle are ruining meadows and national forest land. In contrast, cattle on rangelands where meadows are involved do much to improve productivity of growth. Cows are benefiting the meadows in more ways than one. In a recent rangeland meeting that my family was asked to present at, Jeanette Williams, acting Ecosystem Forest Service staff officer, said, "Since 1999, we have established 878 meadow monitoring plots in the region. 47 of them happen to be in your local Sierra National Forest." She continues, "Analysis of these 47 meadows between 1999 to 2015 indicate that 32 plots, or 68%, are in satisfactory condition. It is because of open range permits that these meadows are in better condition now than they have been in the last 50 years. Without open range permits, every single of the lush green meadows would soon become more forest, which in return makes more forest fuel and puts our forest in bigger danger of fire than it already is. Furthermore, if trees encroach on meadows, more trees are fighting for water. The overcrowding of trees decreases the livelihood of the forest and causes the trees to be more vulnerable to bark beetle infestation and other diseases. According to the Sierra National Forest Plan created by Tom Frawley, the range officer at NEPA, rangelands along with the gradable forest land and woodlands provide large areas of continuous space supporting native vegetation has potential to be grazed. Frawley believes that these rangelands sustain biological diversity and ecological process to help to preserve the rural landscape and culture heritage of the central, southern, and eastern Sierra Nevada. Domestic livestock grazing maintains the desired vegetation represented by diverse plant function groups, species richness and diversity, and structure and condition of the plant communities. An average permitting season on the local Sierra Nevada mountains is from early June to late October, says Amy Cox, range manager. In order to sustain the meadow's good condition, things need to improve. Areas that are grazed have or are tending towards having sufficient soils, functional hydrology, and biotech integrity. The livestock utilize available forage while minimizing adverse impacts on soil, vegetation, water quality, habitat, fisheries, and other areas. Some Forest Service employees are starting to realize that open range is the reason that meadows look so great. But setbacks such as the tree beetle and drought are making it more and more difficult for ranchers to own permits. The forest is in large danger of the dying trees and lack of water. Without the help of cattle and open range stock to eat the underbrush, the forest would be up in flames in one tiny spark. The Sierra Nevada Forest Service planner and business manager Judy Tapia mentions, "We need to extend grazing season into winter and early spring on low elevation annual grass rangelands. Use treated brush folds and transitory range for grazing capacity that is available but not obligated." Even taking into consideration that cows and cars are in danger when it comes to heavy traffic on open range permit roads, it is safe to say that open grazing is more economical for a handful of reasons. Livestock on permits are healthier, with more nutrients from the fresh grass and trees, and happier with thousands of acres of free land that is theirs to range. Open range permits are the reason you are able to hike Fresno Dome and camp at Nelder Grove, a historic grove of 2,000-year-old giant sequoia trees. Without permits to help the forest, fires and encroachment would take over. According to Warren, Acting Recreation Heritage and Volunteer Resource Programs Officer, just under 150 million people visit the Sierra National Forest every year. If open range permits were no longer allowed, who knows if we would be able to visit the forest for recreational purpose. There might not be trails at Fresno Dome or a campground to stay at for a week with your grandparents. We, myself included, rely on the forest surviving to be able to visit.